Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back to the podcast, brethren. This is Rhit Moore, past master of Fort Worth 148.
And this is Gabriel Jagush, junior warden of Fort Worth 148.
And I am Brad Kohanke. I'm a past master of Davy Crockett Lodge, number 1225. Soon to be ex-chaplain and junior deacon at Merit Lodge, number 727.
Look at you go.
The Grand Orator this year.
What does the Grand Orator do, Brad?
Other than being a bag of hot air.
I mean, I guess. You have a big speech that you give at Grand Lodge every year, right?
I do. That's the biggest responsibility, I think, for the year. But I also had to be at all the historical observances and give a short oration at each one of those. And then accompany the Grand Master to as many of his meetings as possible during his first couple of months in office.
Yeah, try to make conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have much duty there other than helping with the computer projectors and stuff like that. But,
There you go.
Yeah, I was kind of on the back burner for that.
Yep. So this episode releases 4th of July, and
it does.
We got to say, Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day. Happy birthday, America.
America.
Rhit, I got to say, this is the first episode in the history of the podcast that you've introduced yourself as just a past master.
Well, to be honest, that was take 2, just to let the listeners know, because I just went right in. It didn't even sound right. Since day 1, it's been past master and current secretary. So it was just like the ritual. You just got a rhythm going. And
he goes, past master and current secretary? And he goes, all right, let me start that one again.
Yeah. So that ends a 7-year stint with 148, and I did a year and a half at Tarrant during that time.
You're breaking my heart, Rhit. You're breaking my heart. All right.
Yeah, you guys will see.
So, folks, we've got Brother Brad Kohanke on tonight. And before we jump into the Fraternal Spotlight, let's have some discussion questions. Rhit, how would I go about setting up a raffle in my lodge? Brad, do you know anything about this?
Yeah, he does. I wrote this question. I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, he says a little bit, like the Committee on Education hasn't had to deal with it a million times.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit to do with it.
Yeah. How would we do
Rhit,
that?
Do you want to take that, or you want me to do that?
Basically, what I was going to say is that there are laws that the state of Texas has in place for raffles, and all you have to do is Google Texas state law for raffles, nonprofit, and it has the actual law there. That's a little tough to read, and then it has kind of the layman's terms for it as well. But they're specific, like you can only hold 2. The money has to go to a specific thing, how you raffle off, having the prize. There's so many facets to it that it's not just like you see a lodge over here do it and they have success. Oh, we're going to do that, because you're probably going to break a law if you don't go read those statutes and see how to do it. I mean, for me personally, if we do one at our lodge, I feel like we should hire a lawyer, because it's very convoluted.
I think the biggest mistake most lodges were making when I was on the education committee was that they were doing raffles to raise money for their general fund.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that's illegal. If you have a raffle, it has to benefit a specific charitable organization or effort. For instance, if you want to raise money to donate to your scholarships, you can do that. But you can't raise money to fix the roof of the building.
Yeah, and it seems like it said something about where the proceeds go have to be on the ticket or advertising or something.
Yeah, it has to be written on the ticket. You have to be in possession of all of the items that are listed as prizes. There's a whole list of things, and like you said, it's written out in layman's terms on the website.
Yeah. So, just Google it. I mean, because one of the big things I see a lot of is people advertising their raffle on Facebook, which, a well-meaning brother gets a raffle ticket and thinks, oh, I'm going to go blast this out statewide, or that's international. And you can't do that either.
Yeah, you can't advertise it across state lines, and Facebook is all over the world. So
yeah, there's just a lot of those little nuances, because in the end, it's gambling. And we have special privileges being a nonprofit. So got to follow those rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing you want to do is you lose your privileges.
Yeah.
Rhit, what is this Masonic Passport I've heard about, and how do I get one? What is a Masonic Passport?
I had somebody bring one in at Tarrant Lodge. It was like his 387th lodge or something. He'd filled up numerous of them. Well, a bunch of the newer guys came in. It's like, what is that? What's a Masonic passport? And it just seems like common knowledge, but it looks just like a normal passport that you get to travel in different countries, but it says Masonic Passport on it, square and compass. You take it into the secretary, they'll emboss it with their seal of the lodge, and then the worshipful master and secretary will sign it. You can get different passports that have different details you can put in there, like what kind of meeting it was, if a degree was conferred, what was their name. I've seen a lot of variations there, but you just Google Masonic Passport, they're everywhere. I think Grand Lodge even sells them. But they're fun to track your visits if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. So there's not an official thing, and there's no official consistent format. So,
not that I'm aware of. Yeah, no.
And you can just get one on Amazon, I think, or McCoy's or wherever. You might also hear it called King Solomon's Passport or King Solomon's Pass.
Yes, yeah. King
There's
Solomon's
a special
Pass.
permit and passport.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen are you aware of the Amity app, Brad?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but they're hooked up with Grandview now. So they're fixing to roll out those King Solomon passes that go in your virtual wallet. So when you pull it up and I scan it with my QR code, it real-time verifies your status through Grandview, Grand Lodge database.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, I'll know the instant you go NPD by scanning that little beep. Well, wouldn't that be something if we could get to that? We didn't have to mail out these dues cards every year.
Every day we get one step closer to the correct solutions.
We do. I'm going to feel sorry for secretaries come, November and December when you got to start collecting those.
Oh, boy.
Not my job anymore.
You'll be put on the special call committee to get in touch with the ones that are delinquent.
Yeah, I will. And I'll probably volunteer for it because I'm masochistic like that anyway.
This is why we love him.
Yeah.
So let's get to the main episode content. Tonight's episode is a Fraternal Spotlight with our special guest, Brad Kohanke. Brad, can you tell us a little bit about yourself outside of the Masonic lens?
Well, I grew up in Houston. I went to A&M.
Whoop.
So, whoop. All you Aggies out there.
There's a lot in 148.
Yeah, good. I spent most of my career in human resources, several different corporations, and then ultimately started my own consulting business, which is what I'm doing now. Married with 2 kids. One of them is in the Air Force. And the other one is about to be a junior in high school.
Nice. So you're almost nest free, huh?
Pretty close.
So are you one of the parents that look forward to that? Are you like, I don't want that to happen?
I'm a basket case. No, I'm a basket case. I'm looking at my youngest one going, I remember when he was just as big as my arm.
That's great.
My wife is way more stable than I am when it comes to that.
I'm still quite a few years off. My son just started ninth grade and daughter seventh. But I'm like, boy, there's so much work. Love them to death.
My son got his driver's license 2 weeks ago. My youngest. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's life changes. So, when did you join? What year and how old were you?
I joined in 1991. I was 28 years old. So I've been in the fraternity now for 28 years.
Wow. You carry yourself well, then. You age like a fine wine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what inspired you to join?
I kind of came at it backwards. My dad was a Mason, my grandfather was a Mason, but back then they didn't talk about it. We didn't have family days at lodge. We didn't have dinners, and I never saw the inside of a lodge room when I was growing up. And the only thing I knew was that my dad was gone a day a month, attending some kind of special meeting that he couldn't talk about. And for as long as I can remember, I've been kind of on this personal development, spiritual understanding quest, trying to strengthen my relationship with God and understand my role in the world. And so I used to go to this was back before internet, you got to understand. I used to go to these specialty bookstores and look up titles on different spiritual topics, and anything that would interest me, I'd order it. And the shop that I used to go to here was called The Twig. It was down on Broadway. And one of the books that I focused on one time was Duncan's Ritual.
Oh, boy.
So I put in an order for it, and the guy on behind the counter read the list of books that I was ordering this time, and he said, are you a Mason? And I said, no, why? And he goes, well, if you were a Mason, you wouldn't be able to have this book, which made me want it even more, So I left it on the list, but he said, how would you like to come to dinner at Lodge and learn a little bit more, straight from the horse's mouth? And I did.
Nice.
I went and visited Davy Crockett and fell in love with the Lodge and the guys and the idea of Masonry and what it stood for. And pretty soon I filled out my petition and had my investigation done. And I called my dad and said, hey, I want to let you know I'm joining the Masonic Lodge here, and I want to invite you to the initiation. And his first words were, oh my God, I thought you'd never ask.
Oh.
I'm like, why didn't you say something? Well, I couldn't. Very much different back then. Yeah.
That's the truth. Absolutely. They were hush hush about it.
Man, but I'm so in love.
A lot sooner if they'd have said something.
I'm so in love with the idea of a bookstore bringing somebody to Masonry. That's so cool.
Yeah. It just happened that the guy that was managing that store was a member of Davy Crockett Lodge. He's the one that brought me in.
That's the right place, right time, for sure.
Yeah.
So you've been with the same lodge.
Emotionally and mentally, I was ready. I was ready to join.
Yeah. And you've been there right there at Davy Crockett the whole time, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've joined some other lodges. I got some plural memberships and stuff, but that's always been my mother lodge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard not to plural out nowadays.
Yeah. And every
there,
lodge has a different focus, a different personality, and you find things that you're interested in. And
yeah, I don't think enough Masons recognize that each lodge has its own personality. Because when you go visit, you really don't get a good glimpse of their character and culture. You go to a stated meeting and it's same order of business, same stuff. It just seems like a different day. But each lodge does have its own culture, and that's why it's good to go visit more than once or twice.
Yeah. We tell the same thing to the people that are prospects. Visit a couple lodges, get to know the guys, see which one fits. Because the important thing is to keep them in Masonry. Not send them towards a specific lodge. So.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think for too long we were competing against each other, more and more kind of thing, and we were losing a lot of guys because of that. Because our lodge is a good example in a building with 4 other lodges. You got 4 personalities right there.
Yeah.
Heck, we got 5 lodges now.
I keep forgetting those Sunrise Daylight. You
Shout
go
out
pay
to
them
our-
another visit.
Shout out to our friend and brother Tyler Gregg.
Absolutely.
So Brad, what offices have you held? I know you said you're going to be ex-chaplain soon, and you're past master, and you're currently junior deacon at one of your other lodges. What other things have you held, both at Davy Crockett Lodge, at your other lodges, and for the Grand Lodge?
Well, at Crockett, I worked my way up through the line, and they elect all the way down to Tyler. So there's Tyler, junior, senior steward, junior, senior deacon, junior, senior warden, and worshipful master. And I've been worshipful master twice at Crockett. The second time was we had a guy that, for medical reasons, couldn't move up from senior warden.
Yeah.
And the junior warden said he wasn't ready yet. So they asked the past master to serve again. And it was the first time we had to recycle somebody.
Yeah,
and
that's not technically recycling, though.
Yeah, I volunteered. I enjoyed being master. It was a good year. And then at Merit Lodge, it's a little bit different. It's a traditional observance lodge.
Mm.
And the position that you hold, you may be in for 5-6 years, and you don't necessarily move up. The senior warden doesn't necessarily become worshipful master.
Oh, progressive lines out the window.
Yeah,
delicious.
The worshipful master is in until he wants to leave, or the brethren don't want him to be there anymore, and then they just pick somebody that they think would be well suited for that job.
I love it.
Yeah, so we're going to have to dig in that a little bit. Last episode we had astral planning, now TO. What other hot button issues can we touch? Y'all want to talk about dress code real quick?
Sure.
So I love the idea of re-electing a master for as long as he wants and is needed. It's fantastic.
Yeah. How long has that been in place? Have y'all been doing that?
Well, for as long as I've been a member. When I joined, James Rodriguez was worshipful master, and I think he served for 7 years.
Wow.
And now Andy Poole is worshipful master, and he's going on his 3rd year.
That's the way it should be.
How do you feel that differs from the system we have now? Like, what are the advantages, disadvantages, if there are any?
Well, it's kind of tough to compare the two because the Merit Lodge only meets quarterly. And
mm-hmm.
Most of the business of the lodge is fairly short. The main purpose of Merit Lodge is to provide an educational forum after the stated meeting. We go out to dinner at the Petroleum Club, and we have a paper presented, and then everybody gets an opportunity to voice an opinion or question the presenter for a couple of minutes as they go around the table. So it's made up of all Master Masons. They don't confer to fees. They don't initiate entered apprentices. It's an educational lodge, really.
Gotcha, apples to oranges kind of thing. Yeah, that goes back to the culture. So each lodge has its own culture.
So that really is what we would call like a special interest lodge, basically, kind of like the research lodge. Or something like that.
The only other one that I know of that's even remotely similar to it is St. Albans Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And so do y'all bake the cost of the dinners into the dues, or do you have like lower base dues and then ticket the meals?
The dues are expensive. Yeah, we roll the cost of each of the meals into the dues, and the Petroleum Club dinners are not cheap.
No, they're not.
So
and we do the Texas work in the opening and closing ritual, but we wear tuxedos and very fancy jewels and white gloves.
Yeah, try to create an experience.
Yeah, it's a special feeling. To attend one of those meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I that when that subject comes up, traditional observance lodges, everybody starts picking it apart. And, a long time ago, my lodge looked at it real hard. And what we ultimately did is just, hey, what works for us? Let's use this. And the rest we'll come back to if ever. And we were much better for it, because there's a lot of things you can just kind of cherry pick out, because we're not all supposed to be the same. We do the same work and whatnot, but how we get there is a little different.
I really enjoy the educational aspect of it. I mean, and you guys probably already know that, but
yeah, that's kind of apparent. Absolutely. So what do you see as Texas Masonry's overall strength and weaknesses?
Oh, boy, that's a really open-ended question. You'd be hard-pressed to find the same level of membership and the same level of participation of membership in any other state in the union. I think Texas has always been kind of this a Masonic state. And, if you delve into the history of the formation of the Republic, you'll see that even some of the representatives from the state, when they were visiting other countries, would tell people, Texas is definitely a Masonic country, and they would point to the 5-pointed star on the flag.
Yeah.
And so, we are rooted in Masonic principles, and I think that still holds true for the most part. The weaknesses that I think that we face has always been our ability to talk about ourselves. For a long time, we didn't at all, because we didn't think we were allowed to say anything about ourselves. And then when we did start talking about ourselves, we were hesitant to say too much, because we didn't want to sound like we were bragging about ourselves and how much charity we did, how much money we contributed daily.
Yeah.
So, trying to find that balance of how to describe who we are and what we do in a manner that doesn't sound braggadocious, that's going to be one of our challenges, but we can do it.
There hasn't been a challenge we haven't met yet. I mean, we're still here. We're still here. And I think
and you can see the faces of the membership are getting younger and younger every year. I mean, we're doing something right in Texas. We're getting more and more younger guys joining the fraternity. We're doing things like this podcast that you guys do. 25 years ago, something like this would have been unheard of. You can't talk about Masonry on the airwaves like this.
Yeah.
I think Mike Gower was one of the first Grand Masters that did public service announcements on the radio about Masonry in Texas. And man, I'd love to see that happen again.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think you hit a good point that, society's changed so much to where, we still have to get out in our communities and do those things that we've always done as Masons. But the way society works, if you're not out there promoting yourself, you just disappear. And for better or worse, that's the way it is today. So, we're not being braggadocious. It's just a part of society that we have to keep ourselves relevant in this manner. And how exactly we do that, I don't know. But it's like you said, that's something we got to get on top of.
No, and if we don't say anything about ourselves, the only thing being said about us is coming from the conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to counter that as well. I don't want to get into arguments with them, because you're never going to change their minds, but the public needs to hear from the horse's mouth who and what we are, and not just rely on the whack jobs.
No, exactly. When they Google Freemasonry because they're interested, the first thing that come up, it shouldn't be anti-Freemasonry.
Yeah, it shouldn't be Alex Jones out there saying that we're trying to take over the world.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It should be their local lodge because their webpage has been there forever, you know.
Right.
You know,
And ideally, their beautiful, useful webpage.
yes.
And up-to-date webpage.
Oh, gosh.
Not something showing the officers from 4 years ago and
Oh, snap.
that their meeting is going to happen on August 6th of 2016.
Yep. And kind of something worth noting, I was recently kind of up to the opinion that, like, hey, if you have your Facebook page and you have an email address and all that, and people know your email address, they have, you're active on Facebook, all that, then, you might not need a web page. And then I realized, you know what? Somebody pointed this out to me. It's way easier to search engine optimize a website, and not everybody has Facebook. So having a Facebook page may not be useful at all, So,
I think the Facebook page drives people to the website.
Yeah.
Because you can communicate a lot more information on your web page than you can in just a post on Facebook.
Well, and we have bukus of followers on our Facebook, and we do get every once in a while a candidate interested through Facebook Messenger, but I'd say 90% Google our webpage and email us there.
Same
it's
old is true for us.
Yeah, it's kind of the last line of legitimacy. It's like, okay, this is the real deal. They've got a web page, like that means something nowadays.
Yeah.
Kind of like used to have a P.O. box.
And your web page, it typically has pictures of things that are going on at the lodge. So they see a building, they see the inside of the building, they see who the officers are. There are legitimate, well-dressed gentlemen presenting themselves in a positive light in the community. It's not just some guy claiming that he's part of Masonry.
No, and heck, as easy it is to slap your Facebook feed on there. You put up a web page to have people email you, and then they can just scroll through your Facebook feed on your web page.
Yeah.
It's too easy nowadays not to do it.
I think our web page has had 160,000 hits.
Wow.
I haven't even looked in that in years. I need to go back and check that out.
I'm the administrator for our web page, and I've got a counter down in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, need to check on that because we've had ours up for, it's 2001, I think, is when it went up. So it's been there for a minute.
Ours has been up for a long time.
Yeah.
Ours has only been up since 2012.
It's been through evolutions. The first one was the free with the advertisings, and then Grand Lodge came out and said you can't do that. So we bought a deal, up to what we have now.
Yep. Yeah. And it's looking to go through another revolution soon,
Yes, it is.
Growing and changing and growing.
Technology, exactly.
Well, you got to refresh it every once in a while. It gets stale.
Yep. So what's your favorite aspect of Masonry and why?
Oh, education, without a doubt.
So
that's the reason I joined. I was trying to get a better understanding spiritually of my place in the universe and my relationship with God. I think Masonry offers a lot of that.
Yeah, it does. And I think we overlook a lot of it because that's what I was going to ask you. When we say education, immediately we think of sitting there listening to a guy read a paper. And that turns a lot of guys off. But something that hit me pretty hard the other day is that education you get, like you said, when we were talking before the podcast, when y'all would get together in the education committee and sit around and stay up late and talk all night. That's Masonic education. And we overlook that.
And just visiting lodge and sitting across the table from your brother who is 90 years old, fought in World War II, has all this knowledge and experience built up over the years. You're 56, and then your young guy is 24, and you got 3 or 4 generations sitting at a table talking with each other, exchanging information, and not looking at each other like they're different ages, looking at each other like they're brothers. Mm-hmm. Where else can you get that?
Besides Thanksgiving and Christmas, it does not happen very often.
Well, and so many of us have already lost our grandparents and parents. I don't have that anymore outside of lodge. So,
absolutely.
I get so much out of it.
And, it's funny you mentioned the World War II vet, because that's exactly how it hit me, like a ton of bricks. I go study with some guys up here that are known for the work, and there's a gentleman that comes, his name's Norman Poor, and he flew in a bomber. He was a gunner on a bomber, and he starts telling stories about flying in those planes. And you're glued. It's better than any documentary you've ever seen.
Yeah, better than the History Channel, right?
Oh, way better. And it just hit me. It's like, yeah, here I am. It's being passed from the instructive tongue to the attentive ear, because I was hanging on every word. He's talking about he's watching bullets hit the side and making dents in it. He's like, that one would have got me.
Yeah. But the great part is that the reverse of that is also true, because I've seen the 24-year-old teach the 90-year-old how to utilize his cell phone to access the internet and stuff like that.
Yep. Absolutely. And we take that for granted because we know how to do it. But I just mean that education part of it, because we say more education, and that's a big part of it, creating those situations to happen, to where lodge just doesn't become robotic. We come in, we eat, we drop money in the kitty, we go to lodge, and then we get in our cars as fast as we can and we go. Even if you read a paper that night, you're probably not getting the real Masonic education that you could get if you were to chat with those guys about it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So one of the things I definitely want to talk about, and you guys were highlighted for at the conferences, and y'all used to talk about it at the officer leadership training, is the Bring a Friend Night. Tell us about that.
That was the brainchild of a past master at Crockett named Wes O'Neill. Super great guy. Decided that he wanted to do more than just an open house. He wanted to specifically invite friends of brethren to the lodge and provide them with some kind of structured informational program on what Freemasonry was. And that was his marching orders. So Chris Williams and I and Wes and Keith Reynolds and Burt Reynolds kind of ran with it, and we divided up which topic was going to be assigned to which person, and each one of us kind of picked the one that we were the most interested in, and we wrote a 10 to 12 minute presentation on it. I looked everywhere for videos that I could incorporate into the program, and finally settled on 2, and it just kind of came together. And Chris had some placards made, and we decided to give these informational talks from different stations around the lodge and have the guys get up and walk around so they could get a view of the lodge from different perspectives as they moved around the lodge. It was, I think the first time we did it, we had maybe 14 guys there, and I think we handed out 7 petitions the first time.
Wow.
Oh,
and that was when, we felt like, boy, we're really onto something. And we've continued to kind of tweak it and improve it as it's gone on. And now it's, it's what you saw at the Grand Masters Conference in the video. It's not something that's specific to Davy Crockett. We've gone on the road and presented it at other lodges. We did it at Louisville, up in the Dallas area.
Yeah.
You know, and if lodges from all over San Antonio will bring candidates or prospects in. And the beautiful part of it is, you know, we're not trying to recruit for Crockett. We're just trying to present information on Masonry. And if somebody wants to join and they're the guest of a guy from Alamo, then Alamo gives them a petition. And
yeah,
we're happy with that, you know.
No, absolutely. Because, I mean, in the end, if you build it, they'll come. I know about Freemasonry. And I love the idea of capitalizing on, you know, bring your friend up here to where, you know, because we talked about the website, and it's great for walk-up candidates that nobody has a clue who they are, you know, so that has those disadvantages. But to bring a friend, you know, somebody can yank that guy's chain straight if he steps out of line.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of know who you're getting.
Yeah.
We had a situation arise one time where we were invited to give the program in a specific location. I won't go into the names, but they started advertising it generally to the public, you know, come one, come all, to an informational session on Freemasonry. And we all got really uncomfortable with that because we didn't know who was going to be coming. And some people will attend those things for the sole purpose of causing a problem.
Yeah.
Or engaging in an argument. But if it's specific to friends of brethren, then you know what you're getting. You know, you're not going to place yourself in a difficult situation that way.
Yeah. And I think everybody would be surprised at how many friends they have show up, you know, because you think I don't have that many friends. Well, you could probably go look on Facebook and find 4 or 5 that, you know, you could invite up that you trust kind of thing. And
yeah.
If nothing else,
that's what the Grand Master's idea this year of replacing yourself. Everybody's got a friend that they wish was a lodge member.
Oh yeah. God, yes. Yep.
You know, and you're not inviting them to try to pressure them. You're just, hey, you know, would you like a little bit more information on what it is that I do?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
most of the time they'll accept it, especially if there's a free dinner involved.
There's the hook. Absolutely.
And no bologna sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save that.
Got to feed them a little bit better than that.
So how long have y'all been doing that?
Wes was master in 2012. So everything, the Bring a Friend night, the webpage, everything kind of started around the same time period.
Nice. And obviously, you know, as much as it's growing, y'all have seen success with it to keep breathing life into it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been very successful for us. And I think it's generated quite a few petitions outside of Crockett. I know that we went down to Floresville and did it for Floresville, Lavernia, which is Braham Lodge, and then another lodge down there. And they had over 20 guys at the Bring a Friend night. So I don't know how many petitions they handed out, but it was worth it.
You know, and I wish there was some way we could track that stuff, because that is the thing about these programs that we come up with. Everybody's got an idea, and we've tried a lot of them, but then we try them again because there's no way to prove whether they really worked or not, what kind of effect they actually had, or I'm going to do this better. And then we stumble on something that works, and if we had the numbers to back it up, I think it would spread even quicker.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, not everything's going to work at every lodge. There was a couple of things I tried my years as a worshipful master that didn't pan out, but I'm convinced would have worked somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just the way it goes, because it's the concept of it. You know, we talked to John Bringle, who does the Masonry 101 at Austin for the new candidates. Something very similar, but guys that come in, you know, they go through this training before they're Masons, and it works great for them. You know, so if they've got guys that want to bring a friend, they come right on up and learn about it, you know. So, you take what works in your culture and run with it. We're not here to duplicate everything identically. So when it comes to the typical month of Davy Crockett, what does it look like?
Well, we have 2 stated meetings a month. So the first and third Tuesdays are our business meetings. And then on the off Tuesdays, we are doing floor practice or conferring degrees. And then Wednesdays, we try to be active every Tuesday and Wednesday with some sort of program or practice. So somebody from Crockett is at the lodge every Tuesday and Wednesday.
Gotcha.
Is it usually the same
active,
person, or do y'all take turns?
It's usually a core group of guys that rotates the responsibility of being there. And it's not always floor practice. Sometimes, like in the fall, in October, we host a certification for through the Committee on Work. So Worshipful Reynolds comes and we do the whole forum thing. And so immediately following the installation of new officers, we try to hold 1 or 2 certification roundtable practices on the Wednesdays during the month, because floor practice and certification are 2 different things.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get certified, you're sitting at a round table, you answer a question and then ask the next question, and then the guy next to you picks it up and it goes around the table. That's why they call it round table. Well, practicing one part in the conferral of a degree doesn't give you the experience that you need in order to take that certification test. So we try to do certification practice in the fall.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because even if you are an A-cert, doing round robin is different than practicing on your own at home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's good to practice that. So on average, do you know about how many guys y'all have been raising in the last couple of years?
It varies, like with any other lodge. We have our ups and downs depending on who's in charge and how much effort they're willing to put into it. But yeah, we've been from I think we raised 18 in our busiest year.
Wow.
And I think the fewest we've done are 3 or 4.
That's still pretty active.
Yeah. 18's a busy year. I mean, that's, what would that be?
Yeah, and that's 18 raisings. So that includes Fellowcraft and EA degrees that hadn't progressed yet. So
times 3, yeah. So that's almost a degree a week.
Yeah, and it felt like it.
No, and that's fun, because
we were running out of instructors.
Dragging. And I think that's why those cycles do happen too. You know what I mean? You start riding high for a minute and everybody just starts dragging their booties a little bit. And I don't know that it's how you really cure that. It take a full team.
I don't either. I mean, I'd rather have that problem though than not enough,
Exactly. Yeah, because I know somewhere along the way there's a breaking period, because I look back at our old minutes and see them doing 35, 40 raisings a year, and they're having 2 and 3 degree teams going at a time, just bamming them out. But
and can you imagine how many students each instructor was probably having to teach to get through the proficiency work? And now, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but each one of our guys has not only an instructor, but a mentor. So that's taking, that's assigning 2 jobs for every candidate as they progress. So if you got 18, that's 36 different positions people have to fill to help these guys progress.
Yeah. And it's really hard for a lodge to do that until they do build a good base of active membership.
Yeah.
slow as she grows, I guess.
Yeah, we've been really lucky with the core group of guys that are extremely active and willing to volunteer as mentors and instructors.
Yeah. So what would you say the typical time frame is from initiation to proficient master?
Oh boy, it's going to depend on the candidate.
Yeah.
When I've got a guy now that's ready to give his fellowcraft proficiency, and I'm kind of holding the reins on him because I don't want him to go through too quickly. He could be done in 3 months.
Yeah.
If I let him, but I want him to spend more time in each one of the degrees so that he better understands what it is that he's memorizing. You know, I don't want him to just regurgitate everything, become a master mason, and then go, okay, well, now what?
Exactly. Yeah. I know how it is. Once you get your sights set on the peak of the mountain, it's like, don't stop till I get there.
Right.
You know, but that's the beauty of it. You know, why we do have mentors to where they're like, slow down a little bit. The air gets thin up there.
Let's talk about this stuff and what it really means.
Yeah, and if they only knew the protection being a EA and fellowcraft provided them, you know, because once you become a master, here comes the drama.
Yeah. And you're fair game for the lineup.
Exactly. You want to be junior steward?
Yeah, how'd you like to be an officer in the lodge? What are my responsibilities? Well, you have to cook for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's a tall order for a men's fraternity too.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is something that is important to learn, you know.
Yeah, you better believe it.
Well, you got to learn how to serve before you can serve as worshipful master.
Very few things have served me better that Freemasonry's taught me than how to cook. And I mean, it didn't necessarily teach me, but I had to take a crash course in it. And
I took a crash course on Costco casseroles.
Yep. There's a great blog post that I've shared before. It's called the website is arslatomorum.com, right? arslatomorum.com, spelled the way it sounds, and it's a blog run by in Utah, they're most illustrious, if they're past grandmasters, of the Grand Council. Most illustrious companion, Jason Mitchell, and it's called How to Crush Being a Junior or Senior Steward. And it talks, the basic summary of it is, hey, before they can trust you as master, they've got to be able to trust you with the coffee. And if you're too good to do the coffee run, it tells the lodge that you're too good to be master. So, you know, and then learn how to serve the coffee as a junior steward so that when you're master and you're showing up to a brother's house with a favor, in need of a favor or advice, you bring them the coffee the way they know that you know they want it. So it's kind of that servant leadership.
That is so true.
Yeah. No,
So,
you've said that before, Gabe, and it's stuck.
It's
if guys are not willing to serve as steward, then typically they shouldn't progress any further.
Yeah,
you'll have trouble if you let them. Yeah,
and
will.
we're not saying that you have to have a progressive line by any means, but like you gotta, man, the steward's roles, those are great test of character and great opportunity for a guy to show his capability as a servant leader.
And his commitment, you know.
Yeah. How much easier it is to get a junior steward out of the lineup than a senior warden, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a lot less drama.
I would love to see a senior steward who sits in that position for a long time and who, you know, maybe this guy is a past master or maybe he doesn't want to go on to be a master or whatever. We just get a guy that can cook really well and we get him to be senior steward for years and years and years. And then every year we rotate out the junior steward and the senior that we pick as the junior steward, a guy who doesn't know how to cook. And the senior steward teaches the junior steward every year how to cook, right? And so I'm not saying this for the lodge's benefit, but for the junior steward's benefit, because how many guys do you know that, they leave their parents' house
Can't cook
and they don't know how to
toast.
cook?
Yeah.
There were so many guys that, I was talking about this with a friend of mine from college. Like, how many guys do you know that they get to the dorms and they don't know how to cook anything other than pouring a bowl of cereal?
Yeah.
And they can burn toast all day, So how great would it be for a lodge to just churn out consistently good cooks by teaching them? Anyway, sorry, that was a really wild sidetrack. I just got hooked onto that idea. My apologies.
More education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to that cooking, man. That's for sure. It's alchemical happiness.
Alchemical happiness. Hey.
Oh, I can take a block of cream cheese and put the biggest smile on your face.
Does this
6 or
involve
7
physically
different ways.
painting the cream cheese onto my face?
Oh, no. I'm talking about putting it in a cheesecake or making poppers.
Heck yeah.
I can work magic with cream cheese now. What kind of priority does Davy Crockett Lodge put on their degree in ritual work?
Crockett has always been known for its ability to confer its own degrees and do it well. I think even before Keith was a member of the Committee on Work, he was a district instructor for years and years and years. And prior to him, it was Dan Mason, who was a district instructor for years and years and years. So Crockett has had it drilled into them that the ritual work is important, and it's got to be done, as close to perfection as you can make it. And the only time I've ever conferred a perfect degree was in the shower, and I don't think I've ever seen one done.
I feel personally attacked.
Just to be clear, there was nobody else in the shower with me when I was.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, but we put a lot of focus on getting the ritual work done correctly, and we take it seriously. Now I'm not saying during the floor practices we don't cut up and stuff, but when it comes to conferring it for a candidate, this is his night, and this is, especially when he's an EA, this is his first exposure into the mysteries of Freemasonry. And if you're cutting up or cracking up or not taking the work seriously, you can expect the same from him as if and as he progresses through the line to become Master Mason. So you're really kind of setting the tone for these guys as they're coming in. And it was important enough for us to include it in our mission statement, that we wanted to be known for our ritualistic work.
I love that. Dropping, you got a mission statement.
I did get a mission statement in there.
Yeah,
I got to put a plug in for the education committee and all that stuff.
For sure. I mean, because we talk about that all the time, how important it is. If nothing else, just the process of doing it. The mission and vision statement is so important. You get good stuff out of it. What was the other thing that you touched on that I wanted to? Boy, I feel it slipping away too. Maybe it'll come back to me. Okay, so what other activities you guys do at Crockett Lodge?
Oh, man. One of my favorite things is the quarterly philosophic roundtable. We will get together on the months that have 5 Tuesdays and meet at a local restaurant where we can reserve a secluded room. Typically, I'm going to be the one that's running the night, and I'll come up with some kind of philosophical question to pose. So we will get there at 6, have a couple of cocktails, order dinner. I'll pose the question, and then everybody thinks about it as dinner is delivered and we continue to eat. And then once everybody's finished and the dishes are cleared away, the doors are closed, the wait staff stays out, and we kind of take turns giving our opinion on the topic of the evening. That's been one of the most enjoyable things for me. It's a little based on Merit Lodge's kind of model for education, but we don't have a paper presented. We just ask a question and then everybody gets to voice an opinion.
Yeah, I think that
we usually get anywhere from 12 to 20 guys.
Whew. Yeah,
and it's not just Crockett. We advertise it for the whole area, and we get guys from a number of different lodges. We have 27 in the county. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because the informal setting like that, and that you get a lot of people that aren't usually very active in those discussions out of their shell usually.
Yeah. So that's an example of an education program. Then we have a lot of family nights. We do Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Typically, we try to sneak a Mother's Day program in there. My favorite is always Halloween because it's the biggest turnout, and everybody wears a costume, and it seems like every year the worshipful master tries to outdo the guy before him. So one year we had a magician, and one year the line officers, we learned how to do the Thriller dance. So we played Thriller, and we all did the Thriller dance, line dance for everybody. And then we had costume contests.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Trick or treating for the kids and little carnivals. And we had 2 of those blow up jumpy castles for the little ones, and it was a blast. So.
You know what, Gabe? We need to do that this year, so you and Billy and Grant can dress up as the 3 amigos.
Oh man, that would be
I'll
funny.
send you the video of the Thriller dance. You guys can learn it and do it there.
There you go. That's greatness. No, that's so much fun getting the families together, because we just had our family day at 148, and it's always so refreshing to sit down with your brother's wife and you get to know them and you watch their kids grow up. I mean, we've had it this was our 6th year. So kids that came out here that couldn't even hardly walk the first year, now are running the show, and are we going to family day? Is today family day? And it's so rewarding.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I met Keith's son at Lodge when he was about 6 years old at a family day. And he's district deputy this year. And at the last family day, his son is I think he's turning 5. So I've seen him grow to a man and then have his own child now who is the age he was when I met him. That's cool. And he's my brother now. So
yeah, that's another thing that you just don't actually get to witness a lot nowadays. One, we move a lot for work, but even if you do work at the same job for 25 years, the other people probably don't.
Right.
So the opportunities it provides us at Lodge is so vast. We get hung up on these little things like we need more of this, need more of that. It's like, man, we just need to get together and be Masons more.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a great institution in place. We just need to utilize it more.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been left a great, a fertile ground to do some great things for sure. So, can you tell us about a standout moment at Davy Crockett for you? Like that one moment where you're like, this is it. This is where I need to be.
Oh, gosh. There's been, over the years, there's been so many great things that have happened there. I think, honestly, my proudest moment as a member of Davy Crockett had to be this year at the Grandmasters Conferences when we were highlighted for that Bring a Friend night. I never expected to get Grand Lodge recognition for doing something like that. But we've had so many calls asking for the scripts and what the videos were that we utilized, and to see other guys in other lodges take an interest in instituting something that was developed at Crockett. It's pretty satisfying, pretty humbling.
Yeah. No, because it's like we've been feeling our way in the dark for a long time, and if you actually, find a little bit of light, it is humbling.
Yeah.
Everybody comes running for a coal.
Yep.
Well, yeah. And
it feels like we've been, as Jim Rumsey would say, purblind.
Purblind, isn't it?
Purblind.
Yeah,
purblind or pureblind. I've heard both ways, but purblind, I think, is the way. Yeah.
At least that's what Google told me, because I had to look it up. I had no idea. I was like, that's not even a word.
Jim Rumsey, what are you talking about?
It's in the index
in
the back
right.
of the monitor.
It is?
One word.
Oh,
yeah.
Stop, Brad. It was there the entire time, and I didn't realize this. Now I feel like a dumbass.
and while you're looking up that word, look up pomegranate and see if it's spelled correctly.
Oh,
is
I'm
this
gonna have to go back and reread that?
Okay, is this the thing that I've ranted about a bit, where in some jurisdictions, pomegranate is pronounced in the work as pomgrant?
Well, it's spelled and pronounced in the Texas work as pomegranate, like PALM.
Pomegranate
instead of pomegranate.
Get out.
Yeah.
Pomegranate.
Why do I feel gross?
So, if you're looking for a resolution to introduce at Grand Lodge, maybe that would be one.
Update, we want to reflect the correct spelling. That's such a wonderfully trivial thing to bring before Grand Lodge that I would be completely behind.
Reprint $10,000 worth of.
Right?
This word is not spelled correctly. I want all of the Grand West to vote on this. That's me.
Throw your monitors out.
Oh, man. So, Brad, what piece of advice would you give a brother who is trying to breathe life into their lodge?
Oh, boy. There's a couple of things that come to mind off the top of my head. The first one is the guys that are progressing through the lineup that are going to be worshipful master need to go to the officer leadership training class.
Yes, they do.
Can't stress it enough to you. I mean, I've visited a lot of lodges around the state, and when you walk in and you watch the opening and the closing of the lodge and how the work progresses through the course of the evening, you can tell which lodge has sent their officers to that and which lodges haven't. And I think Larry mentioned this in his interview with you guys. We got to run lodges like a business. And if you can't keep the doors open, keep the lights on, keep the place presentable and clean and operating properly, you can't really expect anybody to come knocking on your door wanting to become a member of your fraternity when you're presenting that image to the community. So that would be my first suggestion. And the second one is another one that's fairly simple. The Vanguard Award highlights so many things that you can do to improve your image in the community, improve your experience in your family night programs, improve the experience of the membership as far as educational programs go. I mean, there's so many different suggestions in the list of different things that you can do to earn the Vanguard Award. And I think most people look at that and say, well, we don't need to earn an award for being Masons. But if you want your lodge to be more successful, just even if you're not interested in obtaining the award, take a look at the list of suggestions that are presented in each different category and you're bound to find something that will work for your lodge. You know, if you're in a city lodge and you want to institute a Bring a Friend program, do that. If you're in a rural lodge and you want to do a community builder award, or you want to do some kind of a get together with the guys, I've always thought this probably wouldn't work here, but in a rural community where you have one high school, get your lodge brethren together and go out and buy Masonic t-shirts with the square and compass on them in the color of the local high school team, and go as a group to the high school football game on a Friday night and support the school. I mean, they're going to see that square and compass, and they're going to see in the colors of the high school. And how much notice are you going to get if you get 12, 15 guys walking around with a square and compass t-shirt?
Oh yeah.
And their families, you know?
That is
was one lodge that gave the community builder award to the football coach, and they were able to present it on the 50-yard line during halftime at the high school football game. What kind of exposure is that? That's awesome.
Yeah, in a small town, you can just get so many more privileges like that.
Yeah,
That's
and you know,
cool.
Typically they'll listen to us talk at the officer leadership training course, and they'll think, well, you know, we can't do that because you guys are in a big city and you got all these advantages. Well, they've got advantages that we can't take advantage of too.
Yeah.
So you just got to figure out what works best. And the list of suggestions in that Vanguard Award program is it's a gold mine of ideas.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, not only do you have the faction of guys that are like, I don't need that piece of paper for being a Mason, but you have others that look at it and go, oh, we don't have near the active membership to do this. But like you said, just go through and pick you a couple and start building, because you'll be surprised what'll happen in 2 or 3 years if that lodge starts getting active again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I heard a story of a small town lodge repainting their sign out front, just going over the black letters with, you know, on the little metal sign out front. And they had people stop by while they were doing it. I didn't even realize this place was still open.
Oh yeah.
So small. It's very, very interesting. And to touch on the leadership training again too, to say you get Masonic education is an understatement, because you will leave with all kinds of resources. It is like drinking from a fire hose, but you leave with the flash drive now, and you've got pretty much everything that you talked about. But not only that, I think I learned more, no offense, Brad, sitting with that table of brothers and talking about what they've experienced in their lodge and how they overcame it. There's just some magic in that.
That's the reason for those group exercises. You know, I mean, we don't really need for you guys to tell us, you know, who's going to be your installing officer and what meal you're going to serve and all of this stuff, but it's to stimulate conversation between the guys at the table. And that's exactly what comes out of it, Rhit, is that they start talking about what worked at their lodge, what didn't work, and ideas are generated. Mm-hmm. And that flash drive is that's worth its weight in gold too. I mean, there's even videos on there from when Jack Kelly was Grandmaster back in the 80s that you can utilize and show as a educational night program in your lodge on a stated meeting night.
Yeah,
12-minute videos.
It's funny you say that, because I've got a pile of flash drives, but I can walk right to that one right now. It's the only one I know what's on it, where it is.
Yeah, I've got mine sitting right next to me on my computer.
I did remember what I forgot earlier that I want to say before we close out, Gabe. You had mentioned about the degrees being serious, and if somebody's joking around, that it sets the tone for the candidate. And everybody kind of placates that in a sense that, oh, yeah, now they're going to think that they can joke around. Well, we always joke around in degrees. That's the culture at our lodge. But you got to understand, that's going to bleed over into everything he does as a Mason. That obligation, that's kind of a half joking kind of thing. The 5 points of fellowship, it's not as that serious as it should be. At some point in our Masonic career, these guys have to realize that the serious business that you're obligating yourself to it's centuries
well said.
Of guys passing us this reputable organization, and we can't let it just swither down the drain by cutting up in a degree, because that's where it starts. This guy may have been a Mason 15 years, but he's still joking around in the master's degree 15 years later because it was done in his.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is the goat joke.
Yes.
God, I know I'm speaking Masonic blasphemy here, but I wish that would have never become a thing, and I wish it would just go away.
I'm with you. Yeah, there's a few jokes like that, like the smell and all that every time it's just like aroma. It's like, oh yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Yep. Oh, hilarious. Kill me now, please.
Yeah. And all you're doing right there is saying, hey, y'all give me your attention. I need your attention, not this candidate. And you need to put your ego in your back pocket for a minute and let's do this thing for this candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll joke around all you want after it's over. Chill. No, that came to me in mid-thought while y'all were talking. I had to jot that down and get that out because I know there was a post about that the other day. Should degrees be serious or fun? And it was an actual debate. It's like, I can't even get involved in this. My blood pressure's going up.
Yep. I don't know. The degrees should be fun, not because you try to make them fun, but because they are executed seriously in a way that provides enjoyment and satisfaction to all parties involved.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the term fun is subjective, and that's why it's really hard to get in that conversation, because you're right. After I leave a degree, if it's done right, I have that feeling like you kind of get after having fun. It's a euphoric high.
I have fun when I'm serious,
Yeah.
There is a degree called the Select Master's degree, and it's a very serious, intense, emotional degree. And there's the Order of the Temple in the Commandery of Knights Templar, and that's a really serious, really intense degree. Like, your candidate is vibrating with energy, basically, right? And people go glassy-eyed from shock because it's so serious and it's so intense. And it's the most fun thing I do as a Mason, is these serious, intense degrees. It's not like I had emotions like I had fun. Hell yes, I had fun. I just happened to do it in a very serious manner. So, hey.
I follow you. I have fun playing the king, too.
Yeah. It's good to be king.
Yeah.
You know what's even better? Being emperor. See you at AMD. What's up? Anyway. Oh, is it? Yeah. I got to be
always
Emperor
a one-up.
Yeah, I got to be Emperor Constantine once, so here we go.
That's trouble.
So, brethren, our Masonic quote this week is, Masonic labor is purely a labor of love. He who seeks to draw Masonic wages in gold and silver will be disappointed. The wages of a Mason are in the dealings with one another. Sympathy begets sympathy. Kindness begets kindness. Helpfulness begets helpfulness. And these are the wages of a Mason. And that's by Right Worshipful Brother Benjamin Franklin, past Grand Master of Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good... I love earning me some wages.
Yeah, I like that one too, because it doesn't say anger equals a solution.
Yeah. So let's do some closing thoughts. Rhit, then myself, then Brad.
So for me, this conversation really kept hitting on culture, and I think that's something we're touching on constantly in this podcast, because that's where it all builds from. If you're a lodge that just loves to do charitable activity, and then you get a member that's trying to cram education down everybody's throat all the time, you're going to work against your lodge culture. There's going to be a balance and time for everything, but whatever you find your success with, you've got to build on that. You've got to identify that, put it in your mission and vision statement. There's a lot of aspects to being a Freemason, but we're all going to capitalize on different aspects of it. I think was it last part? No, maybe it was a presentation where I used the comparison of Harmony Lodge out in West Texas, kind of compared to Jewel P. Lightfoot, both very successful lodges. One does a ton of fundraising and scholarships, and one, no fundraising. I don't think they do scholarships either, but boy, they do education like no other lodge I've ever met. You better have your lunch packed when you go, because it's a great time. It's an experience for sure. But that culture, like Davy Crockett Lodge has done, they just built on it year after year until all of a sudden you look up and it's like, whoa, we're successful. Not only are we successful here, but what's being done here is being mimicked throughout the state now. So get with it. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but one step at a time.
One step at a time. Yeah. The
baby steps.
One of the things that we talk about a lot on the podcast is continuous gradual improvement. You don't have to, hey, I'm a big fan of a lodge revolution, but the consistent, continuous, gradual revolution, one of the messages that most illustrious Grand Master of the Grand Council, James Kirkpatrick, and most excellent Grand High Priest, Joe Schriever, have been pushing this year is making one change every day, every week, in your lodge, in yourself, right? And, I'm not saying one change. Hey, if you have 13 changes you want to go make 13 changes. But just make sure it's consistent, continuous improvement, incorporating education and value and solemnity and overall greatness. I don't know. And this work that Brad is doing with the Grand Lodge, with the Committee on Education, with Davy Crockett Lodge, all of that is going and furthering the improvement of Davy Crockett Lodge and the state of Texas Masonically, because everybody sees what's happening in these lodges with the Committee on Education, with the Grand Lodge, and it improves everybody's experience. So, Brad, if you have any closing thoughts you want to leave with our listeners, go for it.
Well, kind of in keeping with what you guys were saying, this slow build is something that individual lodges in the state of Texas can do that maybe at the Grand Lodge level doesn't always happen. And so as the incoming worshipful master of a lodge, take a look at the things that have been done in the years immediately prior to having ascended to the east. Continue the things that have been successful. Tweak them if they need to be tweaked so that they remain fresh. But don't be afraid to try some of your own ideas. Now, when I was master, I tried a lot of different things, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And some of them have been continued and some of them haven't. But, don't be afraid. You try 5 things and 2 of them work. You're 2 things ahead of where you were the previous year. So if you want to try the Philosophic Roundtable, do it. If you want to try the quarterly Saturday afternoon movie matinee for the children of the Lodge brothers, then try that. Just do it and see what works. And that slow build over time is what's going to not only make the lodge successful, but keep it successful. One guy coming in one year and changing everything, it may be good for a year or 2, and then it's going to go back to the way it was. So,
yeah. No, and we have to remind ourselves, some of those churches and cathedrals that our ancient brethren built, they took 300-400 years to build. So we're not into the quick process. We're into doing it right, slow and right.
Yeah.
So, folks, if you want to learn more about Fort Worth Lodge, you can find us at www.fortworth148.org. We are at Fort Worth Lodge 148 on Facebook. Rhit, do we have a new email address?
No. This will always be our public email address.
This will always be our public email address. Sorry, we're doing some internal reorganization. Info148 at fortworth148.org is our email. You can learn more about Texas MasoniCon at www.texasmasonicon.com. That's texasmasonicon.com. We are at Texas MasoniCon on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The event is on July 27th, and you can pre-order tickets for $65. And there's going to be a festive board on Friday night. Let's see, this is releasing on the 4th of July, so hey, if the tickets aren't sold out by July 4th, get you some tickets.
No,
so,
$35 for that, right? At Joe T. Garcia's?
Yes, $35. It is a cash bar for logistical and legal reasons. Makes life a lot easier for Texas MasoniCon as an event. So,
Yep.
Otherwise, once we figure that out, maybe we'll include drinks, but until then, cash bar.
Yeah.
So, Brad, do you have any contact info or any information that you would like to plug with the listeners?
Well, if you're interested in seeing the Davy Crockett webpage, it's www.davycrockettLodge.com. And our email is on there. Our address is on there. We're on Facebook and Twitter.
So if they were interested in the Bring a Friend program, could they contact Davy Crockett Lodge and get more info?
Absolutely. They can even get copies of our scripts.
Ooh, you heard it here first, folks. Well, I guess it's second now. Grand Lodge got you first. Stack nabbit. All right, gentlemen, we ready to wind this thing down?
Sure.
All right, Brad. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir, for coming on and taking the time. This is Rhit Moore signing off, brothers.
This is Gabriel Jagush signing off.
So you want me to do that?
Yeah.
This is Brad Kohanke signing off.